Hi everyone, my name is Curtis Deerling. I am the lieutenant of the Criminal Investigative Unit. I want to thank everyone for coming out and listening to this PowerPoint presentation, especially the mayor and the head of police, chief of police, executive officer, whatever title you want to go by. I appreciate your due diligence in listening to crime scene analysis and different types of it that will help solve different types of crime in our community. I appreciate your time and I am very pleased for you all to be here. So we're going to be talking about different types of crime scene analysis. There's tactical, strategic, administrative, and intelligence. And within those, here's a quick introduction to crime scene mapping and crime analysis. The definition of Crime scene mapping is the practice of using geographical information systems, also known as GIS, to plot crime data on maps, helping to identify patterns and trends in crime location. It helps identify the role of crime analysis. Crime analysis involves collecting, analyzing, interpreting crime data to assist identifying patterns, trends, and hotspots. The purpose the purpose is to integrate the crime analysis mapping to help target efficient ways of policing strategies in different areas. So, as I had mentioned before, we had different four major types of crime scene analysis. So, the tactical crime scene analysis focus on short-term crime patterns and incidents, often used for immediate responses to spikes in crime. Short-term patterns examples deploy resources quickly, like a robbery spree in a neighborhood would be a example on the tactical. The strategic, moving on, crime analysis is more of a long-term approach. The trends, it's to form policies and allocate resources, determining high crime areas for increased patrol. So we would look at long-term solutions in a specific area where tactical could be crime sprees, riots, something that's short term or a crisis mode. This would be more long term, say a ghetto, a crime ridden area, for lack of better terms, a crime hotspot, so on. Moving on, intelligence crime analysis is day to day analysis supporting law enforcement activities, including tracking individual suspects and innocent people. And this would also look at tracking criminal networks, different gangs, and just tracking those type of patterns. So to reiterate, just tracking suspects, it says, but I just mainly criminal networks, larger gangs, mafia, drug dens, situations like that. Moving forward, the administration crime analysis provides reports and has leadership to inform decisions and resources. So the administration, they would look more on crime status, crime trends, and uh, and this is where it would be important for the mayor, they and local elected officials. They would look at different trends and decide what type of policy would be best to solve specific crimes based on their decisions and data collection. So I mentioned before how tactical crime analysis integrates with crime mapping. I'm going to focus on GIS, the crime mapping. The use of mapping and tactical analysis. Crime mapping allows officers to pinpoint hotspots in real time, and it helps allocate resources where it is most needed. Example is detecting a sudden rise in car thefts in one specific neighborhood, leading to patrols being focused to that area. The advantage is for immediate response for emergent crime patterns. So the is nipped in the bud, pretty self-explanatory. So we're going to look at how strategic crime analysis would integrate with crime mapping. And as we discussed before, the long-term trend identification. Crime mapping is used to identify trends over a long period, not the short term. Example would be mapping out long-term drug-related crimes in certain streets, areas, communities for larger systematic issues such as gang activity. The advantage to that is it helps in planning prevention programs and policies that can address root causes of crime. In this next slide here, we're going to discuss the intelligence crime analysis. In some texts, it was called operational uh, crime analysis, and how the using crime mapping would help with that. Tracking individuals and patterns by mapping incidents. Investigators can track the movement of specific offenders and understand their criminal behavior. Example, mapping locations of a suspect's previous robberies to predict their future targets by their patterns. Advantage is a support cause investigations help identifies similarities between crimes. Moving forward, how administrative crime analysis would work with crime mapping. Providing data for decision making, crime mapping provides visual data for administrators to evaluate crime patterns on a citywide level. Very important for the mayor here today and the chief of police, of course. An example would be a map using map data to justify resources that money is spent for the need of additional law enforcement for certain districts, areas. The advantage informs budgeting and strategic planning, ensuring resources are distributed where it's needed most, no wasted money. Very important, and I think this is a uh, good in the sense that money is not wasted and it helps narrow down to specific hotspots or crime-ridden areas. Very important. I think this is worth looking into moving forward. So crime scene analysis is very important. And I really wanted to touch on the going back to the technology and crime mapping and just the technology in general. We talked about the GIS, Geographical Information System, and this we touched on quite a bit is a software that helps visualizing crime data and where crime is at the most and where it needs to be helped the most at. Advanced analytics. This is a use of predictive analytics to predict future crime based on trends and patterns. Real time data. is the ability to analyze crime data in real time, providing timely updates for law enforcement response. Examples using heat maps is a slang for like looking for hot spots in a particular area. So a map of quote hot spots, for lack of better terms, in a geographical location, and that's the row. And we can use that technology to find where the crime is committed the most in a city or a geographical area. So, what are the benefits of a crime analysis unit? Uh, the obvious is crime solvability. It's improved identification of crime patterns and connections, increases the likelihood of solving cases, uh, increases neighborhood safety, increases crime prevention. Proactive identification of crime tends to leads to targeted prevented efforts. Community trust, something that's lacking today. A data driven approach to policing can improve transparency, bridging gaps between law enforcement and the community. And resources, the optimization of resources, ensuring that money is being spent well, police resourcing is used correctly, reducing inefficiencies, and just making sure that all our resources are properly used, and money is well spent in the correct areas. So I appreciate everyone tonight. This is a conclusion in the call to action. I hoped that you guys, the mayor, the chief of police, to really kind of think over what do you want in your city. That is the meat and potatoes of this presentation. The call to action. I recommend the implementation of a dedicated crime analysis unit to leverage advanced crime mapping technology, which will not only benefit law enforcement but the community at large. So, what steps are next? Seek approval, uh, and this would be based in the city. The funding, hired qualified analysis, and begin integrating one of these crime scene analysis tactics and possibly using this mapping software with our existing systems. I would recommend continuing that train of thought. Integrating crime mapping with various types of crime analysis will significantly enhance our agency's capacity to both solve and reduce crime in a more efficient and effective manner. Crime mapping provides a visual representation of crime patterns, very important, allowing for a clearer understanding of where criminal activity is occurring. While the different types of crime analysis, such as the ones we mentioned before, tactical, strategic, operational, also known as intelligence, and administrative, enables us to approach crime prevention and resolution from multiple angles. By leveraging advanced technologies like the GIS, we can track trends, pinpoint the crime hotspots, as we mentioned, and predict future criminal activity. All this data-driven decision making, like I said, will help foster the proper spending of money, allocating resources, the proper needing of what the police need to help prevent crimes in the community. And moreover, by using objective data, back strategies, crime mapping, and analysis can help build strong relationships, once again, with the community and law enforcement, which in this political climate is very important. and improving the transparency with public trust. Ultimately, the use of the crime analysis in conjunction with crime mapping can help us reduce crime more efficiently and operate efficiently and make our community safer. And that's at the end of the day is the most important is community safety. But once again, I appreciate the mayor and the chief of police. My name is Curtis Dearling. Once again, I am the lieutenant of the Criminal Investigative Unit. If there's any questions, any feedback, any thoughts, now's the time to ask. Appreciate your time and thank you for your due diligence and your attention and taking these different tactics into consideration. Any questions? I appreciate you, Professor, for taking the time to listen to this. Here are my references. I have them in alphabetical order. Just double checking. Yep. I appreciate your time in going through this. And yeah, a big thank you for everyone. To the professor, to the imaginary mayor, and executive chief of police. Thank you. I threw a thank you in here as an extra slide. Appreciate everybody's time. And finally, this is my design statement. In developing the presentation, I utilized the PowerPoint to create a comprehensive, visual, engaging, and informative slide deck that clearly conveys the importance of integrating crime mapping with various types of crime analysis. These slides were carefully structured to ensure clarity while maintaining academic rigor, for lack of better terms. And I paid close attention to by providing both visual and textual elements that complemented each other. The slides were designed with the intent to break down the complex concepts into easily digestible content, ensuring the presentation is accessible to both police executive officer and the city mayor who may not be familiar in a real world setting with the technologies of crime mapping. I incorporated key elements from the sources in the field, notably the text Santos, copyright 2022. Hans again, his textbook 2016 to support the content rather. These references that were cited, I'm going to skip over that. And I just wanted to focus on the types of crime analysis: tactical, strategic, operational, which is also intelligence, and tactical, strategic, intelligence / operational, and administration was explained with practical examples showing how the analysts directly would realistically, in a real world setting, be tied into technology with crime mapping. By doing so, I was able to demonstrate how these tools together would enhance law enforcement capabilities, increase crime solving rates, and improve crime prevention. Additionally, I focus on how crime mapping can create a systematic approach for analyzing crime patterns and deploying resources in a more targeted way. The ultimate goal of the presentation is to highlight the significant role of data-driven decision-making in law enforcement. And I'm going to leave that there. I'm just going to pause if you need to read the rest of it. And that's the meat and potatoes of that. And once again, I appreciate your hard work, time grading these, listening to these. And that is it. I appreciate your time once again and hope you have a good weekend.